Okay, here we go. Voila. So welcome to Passion Talk. Yeah, the purpose of this program is to make it inspire, especially for the entrepreneurs. So today, could you please, Oliver, could you please introduce yourself at first?
Sure. Thank you, Ken, first of all, for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor. It's been a while since we met, so it's great to see you again like this.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Oliver Durrer from Switzerland, and I am a former intrapreneur turned entrepreneur, and now basically empowering entrepreneurs as much as entrepreneurs. On the one hand side, with my own company, Swiss Sleep, where we help individuals, but also teams and organizations to innovate with impact, whether that's as a startup, a medium business, or a large organization. And we work on individual, team, and organizational effectiveness and performance and design. And the goal is really to innovate with impact to build shared value. So where we met Nestlé, that credo has stuck with me. So I'm still really into building shared value and creating shared value. The second pillar that I'm having is education. So I'm a lecturer and coach in innovation and entrepreneurship at HWZ school, a business school, University of Business for Applied Sciences in Zurich. And that's the senior level, the executive MBA in digital leadership. And then the juniors with a nonprofit organization called Youngpreneurs, where we're helping young adults from 16 to 18 years young, giving them a training next to their school curriculum in entrepreneurship over 9 months. And the third pillar, last but not least, is advising startups and also investing in them.
Interesting, wonderful. Okay, so now I just introduced our co-host, Mr. Oliver. So I just want to talk about this program. Name is the Passion Talk. So in this program, there's going to be three sections. The first one is the what is the passion? The second one, how to take that action, and the third one is how to sustain about it. So as I do believe that because I am the STG advocate, so I always believe in and also always practice that kind of sustainable development practice. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, the first question, Oliver. So what is your passions and why do you believe that that is your passion?
I think, first of all, I consider myself what I call poly-passionate. I have many different passions, but the main passion, I'm absolutely fascinated by human beings, whether it's individuals, teams, organizations, communities. And I am passionately empowering these pioneers, like I call them, to innovate with impact. So it's really about seeing the potential of people and helping them unleash their full potential. And I think that comes to the degree from my dad, having been an intrapreneur, but it was a challenging situation with his then employer, and he started out with his own company, which then got bought back 13 years later by his former employer. And I think for me, that was a key thing that I've witnessed on the one hand side, that I felt like, okay, I want to help people like my dad to live his passion and to pursue his passion effectively and successfully, whether it's as an entrepreneur or within an existing context, an existing organization. So really catalyzing that potential of pioneers is what I call it. That is my passion.
Okay, so based on that, so um, what is the purpose do you have? I mean, based on that kind of your passion.
Well, to me, it was really to be as aligned as possible with everyone's purpose, so that once you have identified your purpose, that you find ways to basically pursue that. And I think passion is a key driver in that. Of course, you also need a certain structured approach to basically be able to do that. And I think that is where I realized that I can help, always bridging worlds between, whether it's entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, whether it's different disciplines within an organization, whether it's cultural understanding. I'm also fascinated with foreign cultures, and I mean that's one of the reasons why I came to Myanmar 10 years ago now, by the way, is to really make a difference. That was where I felt I'm on purpose. I'm aligned with my own purposes when I can really help others make a difference, and that is my purpose and my impact that I can generate.
Wow, that's wonderful. Okay. So the second question is, how did you realize, or how did you found your passions? I mean, that's going to be your the journey that you found your passion.
Mhm. On the one hand side, I think the influence from my dad as a potential intrapreneur who did not yet have the framework, the possibility, or actually his former employer to do that from within the existing company and actually had to go out and launch his own company. And I felt like, okay, this is something that I want to change, that I want to contribute to make available and make possible. And I felt like it's a win-win. It's great because it empowers the individual employee to really pursue her or his projects and his entrepreneurial potential. And at the same time, it helps companies, the employers, to basically have engaged, motivated, and effective employees. So I felt like there's a win-win between the individual, even at team level, and the organizational level. And more specifically, I was using Ikigai, the Japanese framework,
Yeah.
meaning reason for being, right? So Ikigai is 4 concentric circles. It's a nice Venn diagram. It's what are you really good at, which of course also comes from experience and has a lot to do with your passions. The second one is what does the world need, right? So really, where can you really have an impact? What do you love doing? So like, the link between passion and ability. And last but not least, well, where can you make money from, right? And I think ideally you have um, something, an activity, a pursuit in any of these areas, but at the center is your reason for being, is your purpose, um, your center to a degree. So that helped. And what also helped me is I just had a conversation before ours, which was mind blowing. I had always felt like I had this spider sense, literally. So I was joking. I was saying, I am actually Spider-Man because I had this thing when and still have, when I come into a room, I see a matrix. I see and sense tensions. I sense people. I know, okay, she's the one who actually is really smart but doesn't dare to speak up. He's potentially the bully who, is the reason why she doesn't dare to speak up, and so on and so forth. So I see individuals, but I also see the relationships, and I see the tensions, and I see the potential.
Yeah.
And that was something which, I guess as an adult, I thought, well, that was me as a kid, just imagining that, etc. But I realized I have a really strong sense of intuition, which is probably related to that. And then way later, only a few years back, I realized there's a name for that. Elaine Aron has created or coined the term highly sensitive person, right? And that is me. I took that test and I was like, oh my goodness, okay, it is a thing. I'm not making this up. And the other thing is related to that, I realized when I said I'm polypassionate, that's also often connected to being highly sensitive. It's called a scanner personality. And that's what I call polypassionate. I have so many different interests, and it can be a blessing, but it can be a curse as well, because it's sometimes challenging to focus. But what I realized is it's at the meta level. It's me helping others fulfill their own potential and pursue their purpose. That is my purpose at the same time. And so I think that together helped me really find it and pursue it even more and even more focused.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Having listened that, I just realized that, as I already mentioned, that you just living at the best of both worlds, because now as you already the marketer, so as a marketer you already know what's the customer need, right? You understand the customer need, and also on the other hand, you are the lecturers. That is how you can
Mm.
feel that you have a really good empathetic listening to them, and then so you can bridge the best of both worlds. That is how I can see from you right now.
I love that. That is my ambition, and yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to pursue. Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, my third question is who do you inspire? But obviously, as you repeatedly mentioned that your father is your inspired person, right? So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was my dad, but you know what's interesting? Yes, my dad has inspired me. My mom just as much. And what's interesting is you mentioned that bridging the best of both worlds, you know,
yeah.
entrepreneurship, intrapreneurship, or marketing, business building, and teaching or lecturing. My mom, the story is that she actually is left-handed,
Hmm.
but she went to a school back then where it was actually not, she was not supposed to write with her left hand because it was the hand of the devil in you know the Catholic school. So she actually had to train and learn to write with her right hand, which had as a consequence, the result was that she became ambidextrous. So she can use both left and right hand. And I find that fascinating because one of the things that I always try to arrive at in an organizational context is organizational ambidexterity, where you can have these two worlds of, you know, being really good at your core business, at executing, and also at the same time at exploring and innovating.
Hmm.
And this ambidexterity in organizations is something that I didn't realize, wow, that's actually an inspiration also that came from my mom. And my dad is the visionary, and my mom was, I got the love for numbers and analyses and so on from my mom. I think she's the numbers person. She would remember hundreds of numbers, of phone numbers, and even number plates when you know you did not yet have smartphones. And now I barely remember my own number, but yeah, my mom still remembers I don't know how many numbers by heart. So
Yeah.
yeah, both of them I guess equally inspire me.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Okay, just more specific. So apart from your family member, is there anyone who you do you inspire? For example, like the businessman or some other leader, something like that. Do you have it?
Yes, I guess that's an inspiration you and I share, Simon Sinek, with you know his golden circle framework, his start with why. That's something that I find brilliantly simple and hence simply brilliant. Um, Going further back, Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, definitely is to me a source of you know inspiration and lots of wisdom there, especially when it comes to learning. I really believe one of my favorite quotes is by Mahatma Gandhi. It's live as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you were to live forever.
The
And I
best.
think that is something that
Yeah,
I live by and I
yeah.
try to every day learn something new and have a learning mindset. And you said it with a lot of empathy, basically building experiments and then get evidence to what works and what feels on purpose for me and what doesn't.
Mhm. That's great. That's great. Okay, so let's move on to the second section. The second section would be how we take our passions. Okay, my number four question would be one taking action when you facing some kind of challenge and how did you overcome them?
I guess it's the constant struggle to a degree, right? It's a challenge. And what came to mind when you said that, like how do you overcome struggles, um, is something that I try to use every day as well, which is called the Serenity Sermon,
Mhm.
which is basically the I think it goes something like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Mhm.
And that is something that I try to always live by. And I think that's also at the same time a constant challenge is really to tell the difference because it's so powerful to be able to change what you can and be the change, right? Like Gandhi would say, be the change that you want to see in the world. But at the same time, there are things that you just need to embrace and accept that you cannot change and you need to let them go, right? And that serenity to and that wisdom is something that I strive for every day.
Mhm.
And on a more, I think, pragmatic and um, um, tactical level, lean startup to me has become a life philosophy and extremely helpful because I'm a perfectionist. I call it a recovering perfectionist. But it's interesting, the Serenity Prayer or the Serenity Sermon, I realized, is actually used and became widely known because it's used in the Alcoholic Anonymous program. It's part of the 12 Steps program or something. And with perfectionism, I think it's the same. You always are a perfectionist. You never stop being a perfectionist, even though I consider myself a recovering perfectionist. And why am I saying that? Because lean startup is very much about don't worry, be scrappy, right? Try and learn as much as possible with the least possible resources available and get the maximum, what is called validated learning out of experiments that you run with a lot of empathy to gather evidence to see, okay, what does work and what is worth pursuing. And I have been using that in a business context, but also more and more on a personal life context to really overcome challenges, to try and break them down, to deconstruct them into experiments and run those experiments to find what I can change and also what feels good working on and doing.
Okay, that's amazing. So because now I'm listening and learning from you now right now. So because I do believe that for the viewer and the audience who are watching the Passion Talk, they also will have a lot of fruitful informations and the message they will get. Yeah, that is the first one of the first idea, and the second idea is how to use it, right? So that is that's really important to let them practice and also get the inspiration from you. The first one is the Ikigais, and also now the second one is the Lean model, right? So those are the
Lean startup.
Lean startup model. Those are really useful for the entrepreneur. So they can start also practicing the kind of models and the framework. Yeah, those are really useful for the listener. Thank you, Oliver, for sharing this one.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And my next question, the question number 5 would be how passion impact or change your life along with your life journey and your career journey.
I think it's passion is a beautiful thing, and a quote, as you know, I love quotes. A quote that comes to mind is actually by Ice-T, the rapper. He said, "Passion makes the world go round. Love just makes it a safer place." And for me, passion, when I'm passionate about something, I get into this flow state and I forget sometimes to eat. I forget to I'm so on fire literally that it can become dangerous to a degree because it's so important to stay in balance, right? To recover as well. I always like to say it's a sprint. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And yes, there are sprints, but you cannot sprint the distance of a marathon. That is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was one thing that I really had to realize, especially when I was working in corporate, that you cannot just only go. You need recovery. You need times of rest as well. And so, especially when you're passionate about something, then it's difficult because you tend to forget that, at least in my case. And so, to actually realize and practice more mindfulness and practice daily meditation and manifestation was one thing that made a difference. That was a big change in my life, especially after the corporate life, and also stopping to smoke. You may remember I was a fairly heavy smoker for what feels like too long. So no more nicotine, but also way less caffeine, so way less coffee. Not saying that coffee is bad if used well, but like anything it's the dose that makes the poison. So in moderation, and also sugar. I used to drink Coca-Cola, coffee, tons of throughout the day, smoke. So no more. And that has helped me be more with myself, more in tune with myself, and actually me be more mindful and I think more effective and even more on purpose pursuing my passions. So kind of in a way, slowing down has allowed me to take an even bigger leap.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great one. So my next question would be relate to that the prior the question is like, so what role that your passion play in your life success? Because I also believe that success mean everyone has a different definition. I mean your own success, your own definition of success. Mhm.
I couldn't agree more, Ken. It's really, I am of the same opinion. The key is to define what success means to you first and foremost. And I think it's a very individual concept. To me, success is basically freedom and impact. And
Mhm.
ideally, those two influence each other to a net positive degree, meaning the more freedom I have, the more impact I can make. And the more impact I generate, the more freedom it gives me to generate even more impact. And I think then it's really, that is my definition of success, to be able to choose how I spend my time, who I
Mhm.
work with, on which projects I work with, to contribute to things that I believe make sense to me, that are on purpose for me, that correspond to my Ikigai. And as long as I'm able and capable of doing that, then that is success to me. And then that is a fulfilled life and a happy life to me.
Great answer. Yeah, I love it. Okay, let's move on the last section, which would be how to sustain our passions. Okay, my question number 7 would be, what motivates you to start and restart again and again with your main focus?
You mean when something doesn't work out like you have intended it?
Yeah, because so the first thing is like we have a good motivation to start,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes we lost our motivations.
Mm. Okay.
So there can be some kind of different direction. So not to be like that. So we just want to
Mm-hmm.
stay on track, yeah, to pursue the same goal that we want to achieve. Yeah, that's yeah. What is how to focus and how to
Okay.
find.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think to a very large degree, it's being clear about your purpose and knowing what your main passions are. And that is what really helps me kind of remembering that. That's one thing. When the when the going gets tough, and it always gets tough, it's never just sunshine and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
Um, to remember two things: why you're doing what you're doing, and to be clear about that, and maybe also challenge that, and kind of fine tune it, or maybe change it to a degree that may also evolve. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, nevertheless,
Mhm.
remember how much you have to be grateful for, and really to have this attitude of gratitude on the one hand side, but to strive for pursuing what you're passionate about and what you see as your purpose. I think the balance between those two is what helps me tremendously when it's not sunshine and rainbows to dance in the rain.
Sure. Okay. So yeah. Speaking of that kind of motivation, so the next question would be the how to build a habit with the consistency. So motivation, as I mentioned, that
Mm.
motivation that can spark your fire, right? But to make it consistency, how to make it habit, yeah, to your success goal.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a challenging one, because to me, there really the keyword is consistency.
Yeah.
I have many times tried things and then kind of let go again, and then started again. What has made the difference was really, as James Clear in Atomic Habits describes it, to build those systems so that you actually don't really need the motivation or discipline to a degree. You just build it into your lifestyle. So what I like to call lifestyle design, or LSD, has been something really helpful for me to just structure my days, weeks, months, and years in a way that I I have set myself up with systems that I don't need that much discipline anymore. It's like second nature. It's like brushing your teeth, right? And typically things like a morning routine, which I always keep iterating and experimenting with, but there are key elements that stay the same, which is typically meditating for 15 minutes, um, uh, having a balance between, you know, physical exercise, working out, but also, for instance, I have a walking pad here in my office. Usually I would be like this now because
Okay.
I like to take standing meetings are great, but walking meetings are even better.
Yeah.
And of course, it's best to be outside, but when you can't, like, just this kind of tweak into your lifestyle and your surroundings helps me tremendously. And on the other hand, also, I think it's really it strengthens the more like after 30 days or so, it's much more difficult to then stop again, right? So once you have gotten over that initial resistance and then you try out and once you get to a level of 30 days more or less of practicing something consistently, it's much easier to keep going. And also it's okay to, you know, maybe not do every day because life happens, right? John Lennon said life is what's happening while we're busy making other plans. So I always try to account for life happening and give myself grace when I'm not meditating every day, but I try to not allow myself 2 days in a row of slacking off, of not sticking with my routine, because then it becomes more difficult to pick it up again. So either I miss one day, I go back on it right away, or if I realize, okay, I'm missing more consistently, then I try to redesign the system for that not to happen. Or I realize, okay, maybe I need to change something more profoundly because it's deeper than just a routine.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. And also that, yeah, and that is walkable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So, last but not least, my last question would be, do you have any suggestions for the entrepreneurs who are pursuing their dream?
Yeah, how long do we have? I have a
Just
few.
1 minute.
Just kidding, just kidding. Okay. Well, I guess one thing is really just go for it. Especially for a perfectionist like me, it's always like, oh, I'm not ready. I have this idea, but I'm not sure, or I lack, I don't know, the resources, or I lack the training, or I lack whatever. Nevertheless, just do it. I think it's really easy to fall into this analysis paralysis. That's the other thing, and to actually succumb to your fears, right? And there's no better way than to work through that by just getting started. And to me, what helps is really breaking it down when you have like this big vision, this, you know, giant goal, to break it down into actually way smaller, more actionable steps that you can then do daily. And that is one thing. And the other thing is, I like to call it set it and forget it. Have a clear vision, have this ambition, but then also don't obsess about it. Not all who wander are lost, right? So give yourself grace. Don't obsess about whatever it is that you set as a goal. So it's really about, you either win or you learn, right? You fall down, you get back up, you fall down, you get back up. And I think with a learning mindset of I can't lose, I'm always winning or learning, then it works. So look before you leap, but then screw it and just do it and take that leap.
Yeah. Great. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. It's really fruitful for every entrepreneurs and the one who are pursuing their dreams. So thank you. Thank you, Oliver. So we really appreciate your sharing your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So see you soon.